Okay, so so I guess we could just start right away. Maybe can you introduce a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So, my name is Natasha. I am a nutritionist. I've been in this space since 2017, and I have a private practice where I see my coaching clients one on one. And I strive to help women feel more comfortable in their skin, to have food freedom, and also to find movement that brings them joy. I am also a Zumba instructor, and I'm based in Toronto.
That's cool. So how did your interest in mental health or nutrition begin?
So it goes all the way back to my childhood, basically. So I grew up in South Africa, moved to Canada when I was like in grade school, and being here compared to being in South Africa was like night and day, because one thing I noticed is that here being in a smaller body is what is the norm and what's expected in society. So I think just having that culture shock really messed with my mental health, even though I was still a child.
Mm.
So I developed some like body image issues at that point that only got worse as I got older. By the end of high school, I was determined to lose weight. It was honestly because of a guy that I really, really liked.
Mhm.
He told me that I was attractive for a fat girl, but if I could just lose 50 pounds, then I would be dateable. So I took that as like words of encouragement almost. I did not realize how toxic that was. And so that is the most extreme dieting I've ever done in my life. I was restricting my calories to like 1,200 calories a day. I was training 6 times a week, sometimes twice a day, and it was just awful. So my mental health was declining even more at that point. But the thing is, I didn't realize it at that particular point
Mhm.
that I was being unhealthy. I thought that I was actually doing what was best for me. And it's funny because that weight loss actually got other people to ask me about nutrition, and they were really like excited that I lost that weight. And so I figured, you know what, maybe I should be a nutritionist so I can help the world lose weight. That was my first goal. And anyway, so I started university. Eventually the diet crashed, of course, because it's not
Right.
sustainable. And so then over the course of like the next 4 years, I ended up gaining 100 pounds back, which, as you can imagine, is even more traumatic than the
Right.
original
Yeah.
weight that I was at already. So it was even worse because I was in nutrition at that point, and everyone in the program is pretty small, of course. That's just what society is. And so I basically got to rock bottom, and I was wondering to myself, how am I ever going to help other people lose weight if I can't get a hold of my own weight? And I was so confused because I thought that I was not eating too much, but the weight was just like piling on.
Mhm.
So I got just so depressed, and I eventually went to see a dietitian for help. And I told her, hey, I'm trying to lose 50 pounds. I'm super depressed. And she heard me out, which was nice. But
Mhm.
then thankfully, I came across a good dietitian because she offered me a new way of looking at health, which is intuitive eating. And so learning about all of those principles completely changed my life, and it completely shifted my mental health in so many ways. And I'm forever thankful for that. So the more I practiced intuitive eating, the less depressed I became. And yeah, the rest is history. It's only been getting better. Of course, I'm not perfect by any means. I still have bad days, but it's being able to get through them that has really made the difference.
Nice. I think that's
Yeah.
a very complex story, but something that like even a little bit everyone like every person can kind of relate to, like
Mm,
having problems with food, having body image issues. It's like part of society now, which is not a good thing, but
yeah.
that's what reality is, and that's pretty sad. So I'm really glad that there's people like you who are trying to, like help people out in these times of sadness and down, yeah, being down.
Yeah, I mean, it really sucks just how normal it is because it's not okay, even if it
Yeah,
is the norm. So,
yeah.
yeah, that's definitely what got me into this particular niche. I'm so thankful I let go of the whole weight loss thing and
Right.
redirected to a more productive focus.
Yeah. Is there any like specific memory or specific event in your life that was like, oh, I really want to do this and pursue it?
Honestly, it's just from that moment that I was in the dietitian's office when she introduced me
Mm.
to intuitive eating.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's my one moment that changed my life because from there, that's when I started my page, The Thick Nutritionist. But
Yeah,
originally, it was just to share my journey because I was amazed by what I was learning, and I just wanted to share it with other people because even if it's really simple things outwardly, it was not that simple because our society is pretty whack. So
definitely.
yeah.
Cool. Um, did you find a community in your area or like and how did you find that community?
So, unfortunately, when I learned about intuitive eating, I lived in Saskatoon, which is a really small city, and people did not really talk about intuitive eating at all. She was one of two dietitians, so I did not find a community in person, unfortunately. But thankfully, social media actually really helped because I was able to find some accounts that I really resonated with. I was able to connect with like minded people going through the same thing and just be inspired by people that were further along in their journeys. But it was
Mhm.
all virtual for the most part.
In right now, currently, like where you live, is it a different place? And have you found like in-person community here?
Yes, so in Toronto, definitely a way bigger city, so more opportunities for communities.
Hmm.
Um, However, I feel like I've found more of a professional support group of other nutrition professionals that have the same message. So it's been nice in that way to know that my views on health are not totally crazy. So that has
Hmm.
been nice. But in the community itself, with other like people that are going through the same issues, I have not found a community here either.
Mm, right.
Yeah.
I even in my area, I live in Japan right now.
Ooh,
There isn't much talk about, like intuitive eating. It's
of
a lot
course.
of, I think Asian culture in general is very like you're focused on how your body looks and being slim and everything like that. I think it's starting to change as well, but there's still a long way to go. I think it's a very cultural thing, so it's hard to let go of that.
For
And
sure.
so, yeah, but at me as well, I kind of had my own eating disorder sort of situation, but it wasn't
Mm,
at such a low point that made me like very heavy. It was, I think,
mm,
it actually became a learning opportunity for me, and I started like researching a lot about, intuitive eating and looking at all these YouTube videos, and also I reached your page, and so like, yeah, I think it culminated to a very like beneficial thing, which is I think really lucky for me. And
mm.
so yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so sorry you can relate to that struggle, but I'm so proud of you for being able to get out of that, especially so young, and you're getting to make such a difference as well. So good for you. I wish I had figured that out when I was younger.
Yeah, but I think times have changed a little bit as well. And so definitely, I think the reach of social media, although it's pretty bad at times, it can be good in when used right. So yeah.
I agree with you for sure. Yes.
Yeah. So I talked a little bit about like social media. So I guess how do you come into play in like social media? What kind of role do you wish to play or like currently play in this the realm of social media? And I guess
Mhm.
what kind of effects do you want to instigate?
Okay, so basically, I want to have the opposite effects of what mainstream media has right now on everyone. So
Mhm.
I want my page to be a place where people feel comfortable and they feel at home. They leave feeling better about themselves rather than feeling like they're not good enough or they need to change something. I like being a place where people can learn and just be themselves.
Yeah,
So also knowing that the health advice that they're getting is rooted in actual health and not just appearance and shape and weight loss. So yeah, I really strive to be that person to show that, hey, you can be in a larger body and still have a healthy life, and you still deserve everything,
mm,
basically, is the message. Mhm.
that's really nice. Um, is there anything that you wished you knew sooner or something that you regret about what you did in the past?
Mm. Whew. Okay. If I'm to pick one thing, I would say that I wish I realized at the time that the media does not have to control the way that I look at myself or the way that I view others, just in general, because there was all these like TV shows, magazines, even the radio, everywhere you look, there's something about weight loss. And there's this example of what beautiful looks like. And I wasted way too much time trying to pursue something that was never realistic in the first place. And
Mm,
even just realizing that all these like fitness influencers and celebrities, a lot of the time are not actually health experts. I really wish I knew that because I was Googling all types of nutrition information, following it, thinking I was healthy, but not realizing how to tell whether a source is actually legitimate. So I really just wish I had more media literacy at that time. And I wish I could make social media work for me rather
right.
than working against me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's always those good and bad moments in your days. And it's like sometimes I use media and it's like, oh, I'm really glad that I have media. And it's like I'm so inspired by all these people. But at the same time, like on a different day or a different hour, I'll be looking at the media and I'll be like looking at my friends or looking at others pages. And then I would just be like internally comparing myself to others. And it's just a
Oh,
messed up, like mindset. And I know that, but it's like I can't help it as much as I want to, I can't really stop myself from looking at all these things and well, I guess I can, but it's a little bit a complicated, situation where it's like that's social media and the algorithm is like it is what it is. And then yeah, I guess I can totally kind of get that, yeah.
exactly. Social media can be so toxic, but also so helpful at times. I totally agree with you that sometimes it can just take looking at the wrong thing at the wrong hour on the wrong day, and it just makes you feel awful. But I think it's having the self awareness to know that, okay, maybe this affected me, but it doesn't have to change the way that I interact with the world and the way that I see myself as a person.
Yeah, that's a good mindset, yeah. Is there anything that you wished you knew when you were my age, so like a high schooler?
Um, Oh man, that kind of tied in with my other answer about
Yeah,
knowing
good,
media.
yeah.
But I guess I have another one since the height of my disordered eating was over a guy that is very fresh now. So I wish that I could tell myself and any other person who's younger that you don't need to change yourself in any shape, way, or form to be more lovable, to be more worthy, or just anything more because you are enough as it is, regardless of the weight that you are at or your skin color or whatever it is that you feel makes you not good enough is actually your superpower. And there are going to be good people for you that are going to love you as you are. So I really wish I could just understand. And then also the fact that self love comes first. You have to love yourself before you expect other people to love you.
Mm. That's a great message. Yeah. I know like we've talked a lot, but what is the biggest obstacle that you've had to overcome in regards to mental health?
Hmm. Okay. I have to think about that just
Mhm.
a second. Hmm. I would say overcoming self judgment has been a really big thing because even when you think you're on the right path, you think you have everything figured out, sometimes you hear the wrong thing or something triggers you, and then it can make you start judging yourself again. So I think that just getting grounded over and over and over again has been something important because it's hard to have compassion for yourself all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say that's been my biggest struggle.
Mm. I agree. Like mine, I think even when everyone else is like encouraging me and supporting me, my head is like my biggest enemy. It can,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it can be so hard. I can be so hard on myself sometimes, and it's like, why are you thinking like this? But at the same time, like I can kind of agree, so I just get pulled. But you know, yeah, I always have to remind myself as well.
Exactly. I feel like we are our own worst enemies sometimes. And I
Yeah.
honestly call it my mean girl voice once I hear that chatter going on in my mind. And I'm like, Natasha, just ignore that. That is your mean girl voice talking. That is like an eating disorder voice talking. It's not
Mhm.
actually what you.
Yeah. Are there any obstacles that you're currently working towards?
Um, Sorry, can you just clarify that question a little bit?
I guess are there any conflicts in your life right now, or like are there any sort of obstacles that you're trying to overcome currently in regards to mental health or any other situation, I guess?
Okay. Um, Also gonna think on that. Okay, what am I currently facing? Mm, I would say just making sure that my environment is always good for me because sometimes it takes cutting off people that are close to you to kind of
Mhm.
protect yourself. Sometimes it takes unfollowing even friends or muting their accounts, which can definitely be taken the wrong way, or even just refusing to engage in things like diet talk or fat talk in general can really be off putting to some people sometimes. So just always having to navigate that balance of not being a judgmental person, but also still wanting to have my loved ones around me. It's kind of a constant like obstacle I'm always
Right.
working through.
Yeah. How do you maintain your own mental health? And are there any habits you develop to maintain it?
Okay, well, I lean into the things that I really love doing daily because I feel like it helps me stay grounded. So even little things like dancing to my favorite songs or listening to books. Yeah, I like my audiobooks. Or journaling has really brought me a lot of important. I feel like I don't know what I would do without like mental health professionals in my life because it genuinely helps so much. And I find that people think that you have to be completely broken or at rock bottom to seek
Yeah.
help from a mental health professional, but that's not true. It can be beneficial wherever you're at.
Yeah. That's something that I'm trying to like also I think that was not a revelation, but that was something that was kind of interesting for me as well. I don't go to therapy or seek a mental health professional, but I've also seen that message going around a
Yeah.
lot that you don't need to be so broken just to get mental, a professional to help you. And that's something that I'm also trying to spread through my account as well. And
Yeah.
again, I think that's a really important message that a lot of people misjudge or like have a different like they don't understand that. And so, yeah, I think that's a really important message to spread as well. So,
Yes, for sure. And I think sometimes even culture plays a role in it. I'm not sure how things are in Japan, but I know for me as a Black person, even as an African person, for the longest time, people would say that going to therapy is like for rich, entitled white people that don't have real problems in their life.
mhm.
But you know what? First world problems are real problems too. They
Yeah,
truly are. And especially when it's really affecting your mental health, that is definitely something to be concerned about. So
yeah,
I'm happy that things are slowly shifting to a more like, what's the word? There's more acceptance today. So I'm
yeah,
happy about
yeah.
that.
There is also the problem where it's like therapy can be pretty expensive for certain people. And I think that's another problem, a different problem, but something that we need to like tackle that I don't know the solution to, but yeah.
Same here. I don't know how expensive therapy is over there, but here it's so expensive, like
Yeah.
$180 an hour. It's not
Mm.
accessible. Yeah. I was lucky that I was a student at that time when I got help, so it was through the
Mhm.
university. And then now that I'm working, I also have that benefit. But I know that that's like a really huge privilege that most people don't have access to. And that's crazy because it's health. We should all be able
Yeah.
to access it.
Yeah. Um, so you're talking about how you love audiobooks. So do you have a favorite book or show, podcast, etc., that you recommend for when you're struggling mentally or just want to learn more about mental health?
Okay, well, my favorite books that I've read are The Effort Diet by Caroline Dooner. And then also the Intuitive Eating book has been like a huge, huge monument in my journey. And that's by Ellen Satter and Evelyn Tribole. And then also the Health at Every Size book. Those three, I would say, have really shifted my views on health. And then
Mm.
in terms of podcasts, three podcasts that I really like are Eat the Rules by Summer Inanen and Diet Culture Rebel, that's by Bonnie. I forgot her last name. And then there's also Behind the Binge by Marissa Kay. And in terms of accounts that I follow, there's one account called Nutrition Tea. I absolutely love that girl. She is so relatable. And then there's another account called Stuff My ED Never Says, and it has a underscore between each. So like stuff underscore my, and so on. That one has like really good pick me up quotes that can kind of just help you through recovery. And then also Eat with Freedom by Christina. She's an amazing dietitian. She's actually local to Toronto, so I really recommend her account as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Um, oh yeah, so you mentioned the podcast Eat the Rules. I think I listened to that a few times. Is it like the icon where it's like a cake and it's like pink?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I listened to her.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you read any of those books?
No, but I've listened and I've heard of the intuitive eating book from a
Mhm.
couple of different other accounts, and I think it's something that I really would love to read in the future, and I think it'd be really like, educational to like my journey and also to just like learn more about intuitive eating as well.
Yes, for sure. And if you do pursue it, I would recommend getting the workbook
Mhm.
rather than the actual book. And the workbook, I feel like the workbook does a pretty good job of summarizing what's in the book, but also giving you a lot of different activities and reflections.
Cool, cool. Um, oh yeah, what goals do you have for like mental health awareness or nutrition in the near future?
So, one thing that I am getting into more is speaking in general. So, I want to do it not only virtually like I have been for the last few years, I want to get more into it locally like we were talking about earlier, there's definitely a need for support groups in person, and
Yeah.
that's not something that is really big in Canada in general.
Mhm.
So if it's gonna happen, might as well start in Toronto.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I wanna help in that capacity.
Yeah, yeah, that's also something I would love to do, but it's kind of hard as well because in Japan, like Canada, it's not mainstream.
Mhm.
The message that we're trying to, like relay,
For
and
sure.
the place that I live in right now, it's a very rural place, and it's
Mhm.
a very tiny community. So again, it's like you really can't get your message out. And as a high school student, there's also that, there's a little bit of like disregard, not disregard, but
I
it's
totally get
not,
it.
yeah, like you're not an adult yet. You can't really like, we can't really trust you, that sort of kind of like mindset or like view on students.
Mhm.
So I think all of that combined, it's kind of difficult to do things locally, but I really would love to try it. And yeah, same with
For
you.
sure. No, I totally relate to what you mean. Even as an adult, sometimes it's hard for people to take you seriously because, like you said, it's not the mainstream advice. And there's so many older people that have been preaching the same toxic message for so much longer than both
Right.
of us have been alive. So it's definitely an uphill battle. But at the end of the day, in your community, there's definitely people who face the same struggles. So it
Yeah.
would helpful, even if it's just for one or two other people.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Um, what other, do you have any like personal goals currently? Maybe not, it doesn't have to be like in mental health or nutrition necessarily, but
Just personal goals in general. Okay,
yeah.
well, one goal that I have that I can share is reading a book every single month because
Mm, mhm, mhm.
yes, I feel like you really have to be intentional about it. And I have gone for months at a time without reading anything. And I know how much it like edifies my soul when I do read more and when I'm inspired. So definitely trying to read more.
Yeah. For me as well, that's a personal goal that I also have.
Yeah.
It's also related to education, like my school, but also like just in personal time, I would love to like increase my reading time. I feel like I
Yeah.
spend too much time on my screens. I also go to an online school, so like the screen time is out of this world. But
Oh my
so yeah, I again like you, I feel so like much better when I read. It takes a moment to get myself into reading, but when I'm in there, it's like time flies. And when I'm reading a good book, it's always very comforting. And so
God.
yeah,
Exactly. I so agree with you 100%. And I
yeah,
think when you're a student, it can kind of be hard to craft like time, like extra time to read with
yeah,
stuff that has nothing to do with school because it's like you've been reading so much
yeah,
already.
yeah, yeah.
But it's so helpful, like you said.
Exactly, yeah.
Nice.
What advice would you give to a person who is interested in nutrition or mental health?
In what sense? Like they want to work in
Uh,
it?
yeah, they're maybe they want to learn more or they're trying to pursue it as a career.
Okay, okay. So I would recommend finding out what you're most interested in first, whatever area that is. There's so many different niches.
Yeah.
And then seeing what experiences you personally have that you can combine with the knowledge that you want to gain and figure out like who your target audience is and how you would want to get your message out to them. And in the meantime, while you're doing that, just learn from reliable sources. So sticking to actual health professionals and not just looking at social media influencers is a great start. And just read, listen to podcasts, like immerse yourself into a community of like-minded people, and you'll do great.
Thank you. That's a lot of information, but it kind of
I'm sorry.
no, no, it kind of like wraps up everything that we've said nicely. So great, yeah, thanks.
No problem.
This is the last question.
Okay.
But what one message do you want viewers to hear or receive?
Hmm. Sorry, I'm trying to think of another
Yeah,
message.
yeah, this is a tough one. No, take your time.
Um, hmm. I don't want to be repetitive, so that's why I'm thinking.
Mm.
Ooh. Well, one thing I always talk about is that intentional weight loss has shown to not work across many different studies. And when we look at it, approximately 95% of people that diet and lose weight will regain that weight within 5 years. And for two-thirds of those people, they'll gain even more weight than what they started with. I can personally attest to that, as you know, my story of losing 50 pounds and gaining 100.
Mm.
So if I had an understanding before that dieting will not work, whatever type of restriction I'm doing is not going to work, I think that would have saved me a lot of mental energy, my time, and no, my time and my energy and money.
Mhm.
Huge things that ended up being like wasted. But with the understanding now that diets don't work and that if I actually want to be healthy, that includes eating enough food and not restricting my intake in any shape, way, or form, just having that unconditional permission to eat foods and refusing to see it all as good or bad can grant you so much freedom. And that's what actually gives you permission to have a healthy relationship with food. And when you have a healthy relationship with food, it ends up trickling to other areas of your life, like how you view your body and even how you move your body.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great message to end off with. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you the best of luck with all your projects, and I hope that you get to present locally. And yeah, just thank you for this time.
Thank you. You too. You are awesome. You're the future. So keep doing your thing. I'm so happy that you're spreading the message worldwide. That's awesome.
Thank you. I'll
Good.
see you.
See you.
Bye.
Have
Yeah.
bye.